ब्रैम्पटन सेंटर तो एमपीपी सारा सिंह वालों एक बार मुड़ पेड सिक लीव का मुद्दा चुकिया गया, जिन्हें कहा कि ब्रैम्पटन अते स्कार्बरो विच वो लोग रहिंदे ने जो कि फ्रंट लाइन वर्कर ने अते वो अपना काम घर बैठ के नहीं कर सकते, पर इसके बावजूद भी सरकार इन्हां हीरोज़ लई कुछ नहीं कर रही। लेबर मिनिस्टर ऑफ ओंटारियो ने जवाब देंदे दावा किया है कि प्रोविंशियल सरकार फैडरल सरकार नाल मिल के पेड सिक लीव प्रोग्राम लियाई है अते सरकार ने यह लाजमी किया है कि कोविड-19 का शिकार हुए किसी भी वर्कर नूं नौकरी तो ना कढ़िया जाए।
COVID-19 has hit Brampton and Scarborough especially hard. These are communities full of essential workers who do not have the privilege of staying and working from home. They are going to work and keeping our supply chain moving so that other people can stay safe. But these workers need to know that if they do fall ill, that they can stay home and isolate without fear of lost wages or work. On Friday, the Chief Medical Officer said what New Democrats have been saying for months. This government should be ensuring that all workers have paid sick days. Will the government follow that advice and table legislation to provide all workers with paid sick days today?
Minister of Labour.
Well, Mr. Speaker, nobody should have to choose between their job and their health. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, we pass the most progressive legislation in North America to protect jobs during COVID-19. It was literally on day one, we were all here in the legislature to pass Bill 186 that told every single worker in this province, if they're in isolation, if they're in quarantine, if they have to stay home and look after a son or a daughter because of the disruptions in the education system in those early days, Mr. Speaker, they can't be fired for that. Furthermore, sick notes are no longer required while COVID-19 is here in the province of Ontario. But, Mr. Speaker, on July the 16th, the Premier of Ontario led the charge to sign an agreement with the federal government to bring in over $1 billion of paid sick days for people, for workers in this province. Mr. Speaker, that's 10 paid sick days. I'm proud of our Premier for leading the charge and standing behind every single worker in this province.
The final supplementary.
Speaker, just to be clear, that's a federal program that most workers aren't able to access. And Brampton is now a hotspot for COVID-19 with cases spiking across our city. We know everyone in the community is doing all that they can, but they need help from this government. The Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Williams, confirmed on Friday what health experts, workers' advocates, and New Democrats have been saying for months. Paid sick days will help stop the spread of COVID-19 in cities like Brampton or Scarborough. Why is the government ignoring this advice?
Minister of Labour.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I want to begin by saying to all of those workers that have worked every single day, those millions of workers across the province, those frontline healthcare heroes, those truck drivers, those grocery store clerks, Mr. Speaker, the more than 500,000 people that have been working every single day in the construction industry to build those hospitals, those testing assessment centres for COVID. Mr. Speaker, we're standing behind those workers every single day. As I said, Mr. Speaker, we passed Bill 186 that ensured that no worker can be fired because of COVID-19. The Premier signed an agreement on July the 16th, led the charge, brought all the territorial and provincial leaders together to sign a historic agreement between the federal government and all the provinces and territories to provide, in Ontario alone, $1.1 billion. Those applications open on September 27th. I commend the federal government, and we're going to continue working as a government with every level of government.